Oh, hello, welcome everyone. This week we are not on the golf course. We've had a lot of rain and wind, so we've decided to give a interview to our club champion of this year, who is Sean Davis. Sean, thank you for taking your time and joining us today. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, it's obviously a shame about the weather, but yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
So the idea of today was to give you an interview, to ask you just a few questions, I guess, regarding your experiences with club championships, and obviously you've had two amazing wins with winning the event at the club. But I'm sure there's lots of other things which we'd all want to know when you did win, and lots of things you may have incurred or found when you did win. So if you don't mind, we're going to ask you a few questions, and feel free to enlighten us all.
Yeah, no worries.
So obviously, you've won club championships twice now. How does it feel to be a club champion at Glynhir Golf Club?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's great to be a member. It's obviously such a great club to be a member of, but yeah, no, I think winning the club champs is probably it's my pinnacle of my whole year. So
Yeah,
I enjoy entering it every year. I've been quite lucky, to be honest with you, who I've been paired with as well. So that
yeah.
has helped. That does have a bearing on things, especially when you play sort of away events as well. But no, I've been lucky. Yeah, and I think
And
you so yeah.
you've like I say, you've won it twice now. You know, not only do you have you got the trophy with you, by the way. Can we have a look at the trophy? Can you share it with us?
Yes, yeah.
But as great as it is, I know you've got the trophy and your name on that. How does it feel also to obviously get your name up on the board in the clubhouse, knowing that that's going to be there for forever, I guess, and for everyone to come in and look at in years to come,
Yeah, I think
including yourself?
yeah, I think it's great to see sort of your name with. I mean, I suppose I would call them greats, but yeah, there's some really good golfers on that board. So yeah, it's nice to be on there with them. The likes of, well, I mean, all the Priestances, sort of Hugh Richards, who,
Yeah, yeah, all great players.
but yeah, um, some serious good golfers there. So it's nice to be a part of that. Yeah.
Good. So, as we said, you've won it twice now. Was there one particular win that was more special or stood out to the other one?
I think I think the first one was probably obviously the sort of the best out of the two. I mean, regardless of the scoring, my sort of the first time was not great scoring for the second round, but yeah, again, I was quite lucky. So it seems like the sort of the whole sort of range of golfers out there sort of started to drop off, and yeah, I just sort of found something on the back nine that sort of pieced it all together. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I could say the second one was better. The scoring
Yeah,
was considerably better, but yeah, the first one was definitely the most memorable of the two, just because I think that year, um, especially as a family, we went through quite a lot. So after COVID and that, so yeah, no, I think the first one was definitely more memorable. I think if I was to win any more, then yeah, that would still probably stand out. So
I was lucky enough to come out and watch your last round you played, obviously when you won your second time, and you didn't make many mistakes. Was there any particular shots you can remember, even now after as many months as it's been, which were particular amazing shots for you?
yeah, there's sort of two in particular holes that, well, I mean, the guys who I played with can probably straight away know exactly what shot I'm going to say, but um, I remember teeing off on the fifth hole of the second round, and I remember walking up there. From the tee, it looked tight. There was
Yeah,
guys playing the first hole after us, um, and they sort of were looking out for it as well. So obviously the conditions were wet,
yeah.
but yeah, I luckily managed for my ball, and I literally was like 6 inches in play. So again, I always look back at that and think, yeah, that obviously could have gone differently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, managed to recover. I can't remember if I birdied that hole. I think I birdied it from there.
Yeah.
Sort of stabbed it out to the fairway, and then yeah,
Well, what a great sort of momentum booster that would have been for you. Obviously, I feel relief, I guess, when you're that close, like you said, 6 inches away from being the difference between making
It
a,
was, yeah.
a disastrous double and putting you a couple of shots behind, and that changes things mentally as well as obviously that more pressure added to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think again, it does go back to luck. I think you do need that sort of breaking point in a round.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think not so much steady the ship, but I think it's sort of questioned sort of how the day was going to sort of pan out.
Yeah.
I think it's quite key there to have like a quite a positive mental attitude from that point on, just to say that
Mhm.
there's been questions asked, and yeah, you're obviously capable of doing it. So yeah,
On that topic as well, I mean, is there anything you would have done differently now, thinking back? Obviously, all those great shots and a couple of those favourites that just stood out. Is there any shots you would have done, or played any holes differently to what you did now, knowing what you achieved?
um, I think the two last years have gone with the same sort of strategy, as in playing certain holes a certain way, but
Yeah,
I don't think it sort of I don't think mentally it changes anything. I do think I'd probably be a little bit more wiser now. I think I'd probably lay up a lot more.
yeah,
Especially the two par fives. I probably wouldn't be concerned in sort of getting my second shot too far up there anymore.
yeah,
Um, but I think that's just because my sort of golf game has changed completely to what it is back then.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
And you mentioned the word strategy there. I mean, is that how soon before do you start thinking about the strategy? Are you already planning of how you're going to play it now for next year, or are you sort of the day beforehand? Are you thinking about it? What sorts of time are we looking at with that?
yeah, I think first of all, so I think the first thing that I always used to make mistakes with is sort of try and plan out what I was going to do that day.
Hmm.
I was kind of setting myself up to fail by doing that, rather than sort of playing what's in front of me. And I think that's even more so now when we're sort of playing across 2 days. I think you have to sort of split the two rounds into obviously two separate rounds rather than trying to join them
Yeah,
together and being a continuation of the first round. Um,
yeah. Breaking it down and
yeah, I think it's really important to, although it is obviously important to highlight sort of bad areas where you don't want to be in. Um,
Mhm.
and I'll always remember the first club champs that I won. I remember standing on the ninth tee with a little breeze we just played the eighth downwind, quite a strong downwind, and so I sort of knew after walking off the eighth green straight away what club I was going to hit on nine based on the wind. And I remember clubbing
Yeah,
up for it to hit a 4 iron instead of 5 iron up there. And I just remember the wind just completely fooling me, and going
yeah,
long into the back trees. And that again, you know, I think honestly, I do think now looking back, I should have just stuck with the same club I hit the previous day.
yeah,
Knowing that I'd have a simple chip to any part of the green there, just short, rather than actually taking that pin on. So that, yeah, I think that was sort of, yeah, a little bit of naivety, I suppose. But
I suppose there's pressure, isn't it? All the way through for you, and which kind of leads down the sort of next question. Really, is we know it's club championships. We know it's quite a big event than most you might play in throughout the year in terms of a golf club event. But how do you deal with that pressure of playing in a club champs? Everyone wants to win it. It's a big event. Well, was there any strategies you used to help you cope with the pressures?
um, I think, and I've sort of not ever spoken to many people. Probably the first one I've ever mentioned this to, is sort of starting to dissect how I play golf for sort of off the course, starting all the way to like, practice methods. So I think it's, yeah, again, I think it's ideal situation is to almost pick a strategy to go at the same golf club. If you're playing the same golf club all the time, I think it becomes a lot more easy than it does if you're playing away all the time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I think there's certain areas of different golf courses where where you can sort of slip up a little bit and not get punished as much. I think linear in that sense is, I think it does benefit if you're a little bit longer off the tee.
Hmm.
There's really on certain holes, like, for example, I think for like sort of the fourth and the second there being side by side, or the 7th or the 8th. You know, there's 2 holes there, I should say 4 holes there, that you can really sort of be much more aggressive with.
Yeah.
You know, if there was trouble in between those 2 holes, it completely changes those 2 holes again. So, yeah, I think you have to sort of start thinking about the round off the course. But like I say, it's also important to be more reactive on the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than sort of trying to, you know, play perfect golf in your head. So yeah,
Yeah. Just adapting and knowing when you can attack and when you can't, I guess, is it?
yeah, exactly that. I think, yeah, like I say, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, and I forgot to go on to that. But yeah, I think I totally changed my mental attitude towards playing golf,
Yeah.
and having a process. And I think I have mentioned this to some, but I really sort of noticed that having a process of sticking to, so like sort of a pre-shot routine, that if you're doing identical every single time,
Yeah.
you just trust that process and not
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of second thought on anything. You know, there's so many times I've stood up to a little 3-4 foot putt, and straight away feel like I'm not aiming correct, or I feel something in my feet that, you know, I
Mhm.
could feel this down
Yeah.
hill or down, you know, and again, that you just completely forget what the actual point of, you know,
It
of life.
creates that doubt as well, I guess, doesn't it? You know, and
Yeah,
that can sometimes lead to mistakes which might not even happened in the first place. Yeah.
yeah. You know, so, and you know, like I say, I always go back to it, but like, you know, sometimes you do need that little bit of luck. But I think, you know, if you've got a process that you are sticking to, and you
Hmm.
and you push that into your practice as well, then I think that's, you know, it's a really good solid foundation then for to take to any golf course. You know, you can really start to, like I say, just dissect each and every hole. Where's the best place to miss? Where you don't want to sort of go long and short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that how does the pressure of the club championship compare to other competitions? You know, is it the same level of pressure for you as it is playing in something like a monthly medal, or is it could you feel that you know more pressure
Yeah,
for that?
you can see that on, you know, on the day. You know, you can see how many entries are in for it. So straight away you can see sort of, and you always do get that. I mean, maybe somebody wouldn't like to admit, but you can always get that sort of sneaky look across the green to who you think your sort of rivals are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you're always trying to watch what they're doing and sort of trying to assess really how they're feeling. I think that's certainly what I do. You know, when
Mhm.
I'm sort of standing next to a good sort of, I guess, you know, any sort of player, to be honest. But I think you're trying to absorb it all in.
Mhm.
It's probably the best thing to do. You know, try and relax and just sort of concentrate. Then that, you know,
I think that's important to say as well is that you know there's lots of great players at Glen here. You know, there's lots of competition there.
yeah.
And I get, well, how hard is it? Do you find to win a club championship? I think that's something which everyone would like to know. How hard do you find it?
Um, obviously, I mean, it's tough. You know, you are, you know, you know for a fact that on that second day you are going to be playing with the best players. Um, yeah, whether that's, it might, obviously there's always a chance that you might play with any handicap on that second day,
Yeah, yeah.
compared with anything. But um, like I say, obviously it is sort of condition based as well. But if you can go out there and obviously shoot a great score that first day, it does ease a lot of pressure. But if you're in the mix for the second day,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, which obviously was last year's scenario,
Mhm.
you know, I was one behind last year, obviously, but I think it did sort of play into my hands a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just sort of sit back and relax and just continue to what I did well on the first day. Um, yeah, and just like I say,
I was gonna mention actually, but you know what? Are you someone who prefers to be you know, chasing? Are you prefer to are you happy when you have? I consider I think you had a good couple of shot lead in you on that last club champs you won. You had a good few shots in the bag going down the sort of last few holes.
yeah.
Is there a position you feel more comfortable in terms of having that lead, or would you rather be sort of just behind and chasing? Does that have an effect, do you think, on yourself and how you think your way around?
Um, I think it does, obviously. I mean, and there are probably obviously certain players who probably prefer to be out in front.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I probably am the same. I'd probably prefer to be out in front,
Yeah.
only because I see myself as probably not somebody who makes many birdies, but I can probably par myself, around quite well.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of, and I always think of it. I always look back as well to there's a great video on the Facebook page, and you can see me holding the final putt.
Yeah.
So I honestly feel like that I'm probably going to be in a playoff after that hole.
Yeah.
Although I've been
Yeah.
told more than likely I'm not going to be. I'm still got in my mind that I'm ready to go to a playoff if I have to.
Hmm.
I mean, I can't remember how many shots. I think I had like a 2 or 3 shot cushion anyway. But regardless, I didn't actually know what was happening on that 18th green. And you can see me hold the putt, and I simply just walk up and pick the ball out of the hole, and I
Yeah.
continue to walk to my bag as if I'm going to play more holes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've completely just forgotten, to even shake my partner's hands or anything. And that's I always look back at that and think, yeah, that's genuinely how sort of focused I was on that day. Just completely blank everything out.
You're in a club champ as well. You're always going to have that you update on scores, aren't you, going round? And some players prefer to know, and some prefers don't. And I think actually going round, I don't think I ever saw you look toward the score at all. I don't think you ever asked what was the scores coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever make a point of it, but I'm definitely somebody who doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
I'm probably a believer that it's just how you play that day, and
Yeah.
you play your best and you win, then it's obviously it comes off great. But if you're a couple of shots behind, then obviously somebody's gone out there and played better than you. I think it's quite a simple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could say I'm not somebody who's probably great, who's great at coming back. Yeah, who knows? I probably might be in that scenario one day. But,
Yeah. Oh, good. You obviously won it twice. You've played in it a few times. Who would you like to see club championship? Who hasn't necessarily won it already? Is there anyone you think you wouldn't mind seeing it? Obviously yourself, I'm guessing you would like to win, obviously, but is there anyone else you would like to see win?
yeah, I think. I mean, there are probably people who deserve to win it.
Yes.
The practice people put in. But I think, I mean, there's so many so many quality golfers who play weekly up there. Who I'd like. I'd probably say personally, I'd like to see Aled Tush to win.
Yes, Tush. Yeah, works hard.
Yeah, I think he's probably somebody who, again, who probably deserves to win. He's played some seriously good golf in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think he is quite dedicated to it as well, which is nice to see. So I think that's probably my nomination. I would like to see win.
I've played with Tush a few times, so I'm sure everyone else will be. He's a great player, and you definitely wouldn't be surprised at all, would you, to see his name coming up on the trophy?
No, absolutely not. I think like I say, I mean, he's shot that super low round, which was absolutely ridiculous. But again, like, he's obviously got good quality there to go out and do it. So I'd like to see him do it.
Good. Yeah. I'd say finally, I mean, I'm sure everyone is aware of how hard you work with your game. I've seen you out on the course practicing in conditions which nobody would normally venture out in, and it will come down to hard work. But I mean, what's the best advice you can give to anyone who wants to win club championship, or what do you say to them? What they need to do?
I think probably what I touched on earlier about having sort of a process or a pre-shot routine. I think that's something that helped me a lot, especially with pressure. So yeah, that's probably my first bit of advice. If you haven't got a pre-shot routine with any part of your game, if it's long game or short game, just make sure that you're setting up to it exactly the same way every time, and you're having that sort of almost like a bullet point. Like I say, pre-shot routine.
Routine, yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly the same setup every time. So I think that's important. I mean, in terms
what about the workload? What about the workload that comes with it? Obviously, the hours you've got to put in, and
yeah, I mean, probably most know. I sort of practice 3-4 times a week minimum if I can.
Hmm.
I don't know whether that it's I'm probably a player who feels like I have to put that time in.
Yeah.
Spending a week off golf really does impact in my game.
Hmm.
Probably not so much technically, but confidence-wise, 100%. So I am somebody who enjoys practice, probably more so than playing actual golf, to be honest. But I could probably spend every single day of my life just hitting hundreds of balls, and I'd be well happy with that. But yeah, I mean, it is down to the individual, but yeah, like I say, I make sure that I put that time in, just so I can get more out of the game. To be honest,
Yeah.
my ambition ever since starting is obviously coming down to scratch. I'm nearly there, point one away. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Not far. I was going to
yeah,
say, how is your current form at the moment, and how are you playing at the moment?
yeah. I mean, current form is probably null and void, but
Yeah.
that's just purely because I haven't actually stepped foot on a golf course for for so long. Yeah, I've only played sort of twice this year. I only
Yeah.
played once in December, so this year is probably a little bit different to what I would normally do. I'd probably obviously enter Winter League every year.
Hmm.
This year I chose not to, just to focus more on practice. Um, whether or not it'll pay off, I don't know, but yeah, no, like I say, I am practicing. Yeah, as many days as I can, and
This year, you're obviously heading toward the hat trick, the big three. If you win this time, that'll be 3 times in a row. I'm not entirely sure actually if that's been done at Glyn the year before. Potentially has been. I mean, that must be an exciting thought to potentially be someone who's won 3 times in a row.
yeah.
How exciting is the thought of that?
I mean, obviously, yeah, it would be fantastic to do it, but no, I'm to be honest with you, I'm quite happy with just winning the two, and I'd probably be happy
Yeah.
to win one again,
Yeah.
if that did happen. But no, I'm hoping. Like I say, I put enough time into it, so I'm hoping to get more out of it. Obviously, fell up short with in the scratch last year, but yeah, that's obviously a little bit different because yeah, it is essentially head to head. So, and obviously Dylan played obviously much better than me that day. So, um, yeah, I think that probably sums up um, golf entirely. To be honest,
No day's the same, and
yeah, exactly that.
every
And
round could be.
I think even Dylan, if you asked him, would probably say the same thing. I think I remember Dylan actually saying, tee to green wise, I probably beat him, but
Yeah.
like genuinely could not compete with him. When he got to the green,
Yeah.
it was
He's a great player.
brilliant to watch. So frustrating, but no,
Yeah.
congrats to Dylan on that. So
Live and you learn. Yeah. Well,
yeah, absolutely.
well, let's see the trophy one more time, Sean. Let's have a look at him. Let's have a look one more time before we cap off.
It actually says the Llandailo Cup on it. So it's good to see. But yeah, he's a
Well, thank you for spending time with us today. Taking time out of your busy schedule, working life as well. So we much appreciate that. And best of luck for the rest of the season, and hope best of luck for that hat trick.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. Yeah, hopefully people enjoy this sort of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
yeah. Cheers, Joey. Thanks.
Thanks. All the best. Thanks, Sean. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.